Hi, my name is Suri Crowe here for the MeidasTouch Network, and today we're going to talk about the big lie and so many other lies, all right? So the big lie began long before Donald Trump ever touted it, getting Americans to lose faith in the election process, to doubt that their votes will be counted, or to have confidence in the final results of elections is all straight from the Jim Crow South white supremacist playbook of voter suppression. And Republicans have been working to suppress voting rights since the post-Civil War Reconstruction era. Their goal, to prevent anyone besides a white Christian male from having power or say at the ballot box, okay? I know talking about voting rights might not be the most exciting or sexy topic, but it's one that we need to talk about, and it's a subject that I pay close attention to, because without the right to vote, our voices in a democracy fade, and that is exactly what Republicans want. They are not pro-democracy. They absolutely are not. They have been working on this long game of voter suppression and power grabbing for decades, long before Donald Trump showed up. And they will use all tools at their disposal to prevent marginalized groups from casting votes that count. And we've already seen the damage that this has for women and other marginalized groups. Look what happened with the reversal of Roe v. Wade. That was a long game played by the far-right extremist Republican Party that only wants power in the hands of a few, people like Christo-fascist Mike Johnson. Okay, so last week, here's some big news. Republican-appointed judges at the 8th Circuit Court of Appeals dismantled individuals' rights to sue under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act in 8 states: Arkansas, Iowa, Minnesota, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, and South Dakota. All right, so what does that mean? Well, previously under Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, civil rights groups or individuals who had been disenfranchised could sue for discrimination. But now this far-right court has ruled that they can no longer do that, that only the Department of Justice can bring suit. And by the way, of the 182 cases that were brought before the court under the VRA, the Voting Rights Act, only 15 were brought by the federal government. So you can see that the Trump-appointed judge who wrote the decision knew exactly that. The goal is to make it more difficult than ever for people of color and women to have a say in the running of this country. Listen to this clip from legal scholar Ellie Mall.
Do we see then the parallel track, Ellie, of Trump-appointed judges, Aileen Cannon being one of them, doing things because they think they're empowered to do so because the teapot dictator basically put them in the place to do so?
Look, Trump judges are going to ruin the country whether Trump gets reelected or not. And let's remember with this particular voting rights ruling, which takes away the right to sue. So think about your constitutional rights. Your constitutional rights don't really mean anything if you cannot sue the government to protect those rights. And you know who understands that? The NRA. Because you can't make a common sense gun law anywhere in this country without having private lawsuits from the NRA fall down like a hail of bullets upon your legislation, right? But this Trump judge, he's not taking away the NRA's right to sue. He's taking away the NAACP's right to sue, right?
So all of this is a major hindrance in the fight for fair voting maps, which has been a huge problem for democracy. Republicans have been gerrymandering, cheating, and rigging maps for years. I could do a whole topic on that, because they know they don't have the majority votes. They don't have the popular votes. In every presidential election of the last, I don't want to give a number because I don't want to get it wrong, but it is Democrats that consistently pull off the popular vote. And Republicans know that, and they don't care. They're like, we're just going to steal power if that's what we have to do, not let's develop a platform or policies that would be more palatable to the vast majority of Americans, like common sense gun laws that close to 95% of the country want. No, they want to rule by minority, all right? So instead of changing or, like I said, developing policies, they just decide that they're going to remove anyone who disagrees with them from the voting process altogether. For example, Republicans know that the majority of young voters are voting Democrat. They've showed up in huge blue waves for the last couple of elections. They helped swing President Biden into office, and the elections that we just had recently off here. I'm in Virginia. That was a big one for Gen Z, and the previous one in 2022. So the answer for the Republicans is just to make it harder for Gen Z and young voters to cast their ballots on college campuses. And they have moved to enact all kinds of voter suppression. laws, like removing ballot boxes from college campuses, preventing out-of-state college students who go to school in a certain state from voting there, even though they're temporary residents or whatever. No, they're trying to make it more difficult for them to have to vote absentee back home. Any way that they can suppress the youth vote, that is where the Republican Party is going now. The way they try to suppress Black folks, women, Native communities, Native American communities. So this is the way they play. They cheat, they rig, or they rig the system with corrupt judges like Judge Ellie Cannon, whom Donald Trump or somebody in the Federalist Society, if someone said, you need to get her on the bench so that, the next time you come through, you'll have a system that's rigged in your favor. And we're looking at the damage that is having right now as Jack Smith is trying to get a trial going there in the documents case. And speaking of Judge Cannon, she, like almost every Republican judge, is funneled through the extremely conservative Federalist Society that feeds extremist right-wing lawyers and judges into our justice system with the goal of having command of the Supreme Court. And they have achieved that, very sadly. We now have a far-right extremist Federalist, Christo-fascist Supreme Court. And that has been the result of decades of Republicans playing the long game. So this is why it is so important to have agency over your vote and to get out and vote in every election.
Where did that Trump judge get that idea from? He didn't come up with himself. Trump judges are not that smart. He got the idea from Neil Gorsuch, who, in a concurrence to an opinion a couple of years ago, basically said, I hope somebody makes a ruling like this so I can support them. Like, this is coming direct. This judge was instructed to rule this way by a Supreme Court justice writing a concurring opinion, right? So he doesn't come up with it himself. But this is the point this is why Republicans have worked so hard to take over the courts. And on this particular point, it's not just Trump. The thing, and I've talked about this before, but the thing that links a Reagan judge to a Bush judge to a Bush W judge to a Trump judge, the thing that they all share in common is a hatred for voting rights. That's how they are picked. That's what they are vetted for. The questions that they ask Republican judges are basically, do you hate women and do you hate voting rights? If you hate both of them, you get to have a judgeship, and you get to have a judgeship, and you get to have a judgeship. So that's why this is all coming together right now. They've already taken every shot they can against women and reproductive rights. They've obviously already taken every shot they can against the LGBTQ community. And this is the third leg of the stool, voting rights, because we understand that reproductive rights and LGBTQ rights are popular. So if you're going to take those rights away, you also have to take away voting rights so that people cannot oppose your judicial fiats at the ballots. And that is what these Trump judges are doing.
So, well, hard right judges aren't going anywhere anytime soon because, unfortunately, judges like Ellie Cannon or Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, et cetera, they have lifetime appointments. The good news, and there is some good news here, is that President Biden has appointed more women and minority federal judges than any other president before him. Woohoo! 66% of his appointees are women, and many of them are women of color. He recently nominated the first Muslim American and the first openly LGBTQ nominee for the Third and Fourth Circuit Courts. And that is as it should be. The justice system should reflect the fabric of American society. We are not a society of all white Christo-fascist men, and our justice system should not just reflect their interests. I'm super passionate about the protection of voting rights because look at the lasting damage that somebody like Donald Trump, or even go back to Ronald Reagan, people who appointed these judges and justices can have on the future of this country. I mean, Donald Trump got 3, we know he stole one of them, thank you, Mitch McConnell, appointees to the Supreme Court, and we're stuck with them. And their radical right-wing MAGA extremist views. So, I hope that people or women or young voters or everybody realizes after a 50-year precedent, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, the Dobbs decision, that 50 years of rights that I'd had my whole life, that I would hope for younger women to have, et cetera, they're gone, poof, like that. And that march against freedom, democracy, and individual rights is only going to continue with this extremist court system. Like I said, Republicans play the long game. These justices are there for lifetimes. So it is imperative that we vote in every single election, guys. We have to get out there. And I'm counting on the Midas Mighty, the pro-democracy movement, to be out there for school board elections, for local elections, for state elections, because that is where the proverbial sausage is made. I'm vegan, so I don't, but you know what I'm saying? Like, so it's at those maybe not so exciting or sexy elections that we have to get out and make our voices heard, because that is where book bans and rights are infringed upon, and it goes all the way up, like I said, to the Supreme Court. So another reason why we have to ensure we cannot risk Donald Trump or another far-right extremist candidate, God forbid, a Ron DeSantis, I almost called him DeFascist, gets into the White House. We have to make sure that President Biden does win and prevails in 2024 so he can continue to appoint people who reflect us in the justice system as it should be. That will set the pace and the future of our democracy. So I'm hoping that you guys got some help out of this. I have a lot of friends and they're like, I'm not going to vote. I'm going to sit this one out. Or they don't understand what is at stake. It is so important because they're already trying to remove our rights to vote as via this latest 8th Circuit Court of Appeals decision. And we can't let them take any more voting rights or rights territory. We can't. We got to fight for it. And I know you guys are on the same vibe. So anyway, my name is Suri Crowe here for the MeidasTouch Network. I hope that this is helpful, and I hope to see you right back here on the MeidasTouch Network, the pro-democracy movement, very soon. Peace.
Thanks so much for watching. We're only a few subscribers short of 2 million subs. Please subscribe right now to the MeidasTouch YouTube channel for free and help us grow this unapologetically pro-democracy network.